first thing we're gonna get into here is AMC has made a, we'll say, peculiar deal with Universal Studios. And Rick, I haven't got your thoughts on this. So I don't know if you know the whole story, so I'm going to kind of explain it for you and the audience here. So the theatrical window is essentially the time that a movie is going to be in theaters before it can be later released on, VOD streaming services, released on Blu-ray or whatever it'll be, right? There's a certain time that the studios have to leave a movie in theaters called the theatrical window. And that is 90 days. That's been 90 days. So, I mean, you probably, if you didn't know the term or know the length, you probably had some idea of it in the back of your mind, just because when you think about going to, see a movie or something, you typically know, like, you're gonna have to wait some length of time in order to be able to see it later anyway. I remember as a kid, like, it felt even longer than that when I was a kid. I don't know if it really was, but it always just felt like forever that I'd just be waiting because, like, your parents wouldn't always take you to the damn movies when you wanted to. So you'd have to sit there and wait, and you'd be waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting just to see a movie, right? So kind of the good news for people who are in that situation where they don't always get to go out to the theaters, within that or 90-day window, rather. This deal that AMC has made with Universal shortens that window to 17 days. So just over 2 weeks now. And there's some good things and some bad things that go along with this. And like I said, probably the best thing that would come out of this is, when you can't make it out to movies, right? Then now you get to go and you don't have to wait all that long, and then you'd be able to see it. So the thing is, though, there's a lot of caveats that come with this. But before I get into the kind of like what I think are the positives and the negatives, I want to hear what you have to say about this, Rick. Do you have like any sort of, I don't know, good feelings about this or bad feelings? Do you think this is a good move, or do you think it should kind of stick to the 90-day window there?
Personally, first and foremost, I think it's pretty crazy because I've never really thought about it being 90 days. But, talking about how when we were kids, from the time a movie is released in theaters, the time it comes out on, like, at that time, VHS or DVD or whatever it was, it didn't seem like that long. And to me, too, what was it, 17 days, you said?
Yeah, it's gonna be 17 days.
The fact that a movie can come out 17 days after it was released in theaters, I think it's kind of cool, actually, because if there's a movie out there that you really like, that's new, that came out, you've got an easier chance of watching it a lot sooner. And with everything kind of going to streaming services, I think it's pretty cool. So,
Right. So that's the thing, and that's the main benefit. I think that's really the only benefit. That, and like, here's the downside, actually. Let me just get into the one downside with it, because just like that is a positive, it's also a negative. And there's a lot of other studios have came out, and a lot of like theater owners have come out and reacted quite harshly to this deal. Because I spoke about this before on last week's show. The organization NATO, like the National Association
not
of
NATO,
Theater,
the military,
not the military NATO, the National
Yeah.
Association of Theater Owners, I believe is what it is. But it's essentially like, think of it like a union for the movie theaters, right? To some capacity.
Yeah.
It's not really what it is, but that's like the most generic way I can explain it. But essentially what it does is that protects a 90-day window, because a 90-day window is beneficial to the theaters more so than it is to, the studios. If the studios had it their way, kind of like with this deal. Let me get into the caveat of the deal, because the one thing is the caveat of the deal is that it's 17 days, but they are allowed to like pick and choose what movies they want to do this with. That's the caveat. That's one of the caveats with the deal.
Weird.
So, and this is the thing. Everybody knows that movies or movie theaters and studios, they don't make their money from VOD. Like, it does, like, you can't make $1 billion streaming a movie on VOD or putting it on Netflix or whatever. Like, it's not going to happen. It's literally impossible to make that happen, because you have to think. Let's say, like, here's a picture of the Trolls World Tour, okay, which was a Universal film. With this, they did end up releasing straight to VOD, for instance. Now, this would be a movie I could see them, if they could actually do this deal, and do the 17-day thing, this is an example of a movie that I believe they would actually do this with. Because
Well, yeah, I think so.
yeah, because this movie's not gonna make $1 billion.
It's not a blockbuster, box office hit.
Right. So, I mean, this one's not gonna it wouldn't hurt the movie theaters as much to not be in theaters longer, and it's gonna make the majority of its, money probably like most movies do anymore now. They make the majority of their money in the first 1 to 2 weeks. Primarily opening weekend. They're all front loaded now. Like, some movies have legs, like Endgame, people will go in for repeat viewings and go see it and see it. See it. Titanic, was in theaters forever and just, kept people just
Lord of the Rings?
yeah, like,
Shit.
those movies have legs, and those movies would never do this because they're profitable and far more profitable just staying in theaters for longer and longer. But one of the caveats with this, another one, you're gonna hear me say caveat a lot in this
It's
segment.
word of the
I'm sure.
night.
Yeah. If you know that you're only gonna have to wait 17 days to see it, why are you gonna go to the theater and spend your money?
True.
That's the negative.
Very true. I mean,
That's
it's
the
like
huge negative.
spend money, wait 17 days. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like if think of it, because like with Trolls World Tour, for instance, family film. You're a family of 5 would take, the wife and the husband and the wife would take their 3 kids to go see it. They're gonna spend 10, $15 per person for a ticket. So, easily gonna be $100, they'll spend after drinks and the concessions and everything at the theater to see just Trolls World Tour. That family of 5 is gonna be like, "Well, I could just wait 2.5 weeks and pay $20 and get it on VOD and throw in some microwave popcorn." Literally save a fifth of, it's like at cost a fifth of what they would spend
You're
to
not
go to
even
the
paying
theater.
for the gas to drive to the
Exactly,
theater,
like, it's
yeah.
like because going to the theater anymore is like it is expensive, but it's more of an experience. You know what I mean? You want it's because that's the main benefit I'd say anymore is like you get to get out of the house, you get to go, have a date or something, but for especially for like big old families, it's very expensive nowadays.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So like that's kind of like the negative though, is because like the theaters are the ones that are going to be hurting there, and they're not going to be making nearly as much money. Like the theaters get no money if it just goes straight to VOD like Trolls World Tour did. And the thing is, just like they're able to do this and pick and choose, like with whatever movie they would want to do this. So like, because Universal's, I guess, mindset with this, you could say, at least from what I can gather, because there's been no actual comments from Universal AMC to kind of verbalize what their intent is behind this deal. It's just news of this deal broke in general. But the only way I can kind of rationalize it is with a movie like Trolls World Tour, they would release it in theaters, and if they see that it doesn't have legs, they want to have the ability to pull it off out of the theater, theatrical window of.
Yeah.
They don't want to keep it in there for 90 days and they could just dump it on VOD and hopefully get more money out of it than they would keeping it in theaters.
Sure.
So like, yeah, that's a benefit for Universal, but that's not a benefit for the theaters. But at the same time, if it's not making money in the theaters, then the theaters wouldn't be showing it on as many screens and they wouldn't be making any money anyway. So I can kind of see that as like a double-edged sword to some capacity because it's like two sides of a coin, I guess. Because
Yeah.
if they want to have the ability to pull the movie off because it's not making money, well, if it's not making money, then the theaters aren't making money off it anyway. So
Sure.
there'd be like, because the argument is that this is very destructive for the theater industry.
I could see
And
that. I could definitely see that.
I mean, it absolutely is. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if it's not making money anyway, is it destructive? It's like that's one thing that I haven't seen a lot of people like talking about because that's the thing. They're not gonna do this with a movie that like Fast and the Furious, like a franchise, a Universal franchise, Jurassic Park even. Those are like their 2 big franchises they have right now that do make $1 billion. They're not gonna pull that out of theaters in 17 days.
No.
It would never happen.
Well, typically, I mean, even if it wasn't that rule, I mean, those movies, there's a lot of movies out there that would last much longer than 17 days in theaters. I mean,
Yeah, and that's
just is what
because
it
it's
is.
making money in theaters.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Because that is one thing that I seen a lot of people talking about this and how, and it is true. It is like on paper, it is destructive for the theater industry, but these guys aren't stupid. Like, I mean, they're good businessmen. They all make a shit ton of money for their respective companies, right? So I don't think that they're just a bunch of idiots, like, because I know Universal's doing it out of greed. They wanna have the ability to try to make as much money as possible, but, like,
Well,
I
yeah.
actually do see the benefit of, like, if it's not making money in theaters, and those are the movies they would be pulling. They wouldn't be pulling the monies that are making money in theaters to put on VOD, because then that's not gonna help anybody.
No, no.
So, like, I don't know, 'cause when I first went into this, like, I actually did just think that this is a really terrible idea, and it's just like the owner of Cineworld in this article here essentially said that it'll be a cold day in hell, or yeah, it'll be a cold day in hell before Cineworld, which is like the second largest movie chain in the world. Um, they own like Regal Cinemas and everything, so like they're
Yeah.
saying there's no fucking way in hell that they would go through with this deal. And that's kind of the thing I was saying and why I brought up NATO before, because the other caveat of this deal is that it's kind of a moot point, because they Universal made this deal with AMC to have this 17-day theatrical window. But if they wanted to do that, they could only do that with AMC right now,
Yeah.
because Regal and Cineworld, the
They're
second largest
owned.
chain in the world, they're not going to go through with that.
No,
That
no.
means that the only movies they could possibly do this to are movies that they only release in AMC theaters.
Which I don't know. Is that I didn't think that was just a thing, like
No, they could. They
yeah.
could only let movies be um they could release Trolls World Tour and only give it to AMC
Mm.
if they wanted to. The problem is, though, that is very destructive for both Universal and the other theater chains, because I mean, obviously the theater chains are losing out of content
Yeah,
to get their
definitely.
money in. But it's super destructive for Universal, because if they want to try to pick and choose, like, okay, Trolls World Tour, for instance, I'm just going to keep using that as an example because it was a picture on the other
Dude,
article.
trolls, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a good example for this, because it
It
is the
is.
kind of movie that like would actually like they would actually do for this like
Yeah,
one that. So
I
I mean
would say so.
that's a good example,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just all I got right now, because honestly, the only Universal franchises I can even think of off the top of my head right now is literally the ones I've mentioned:
In the
Fast and
previous
Furious,
videos, yeah.
Jurassic Park, and then Trolls. I can't even think of another one. They're not.
Yeah.
They haven't really been
The
hitting.
Universal monsters, but
Yeah, you can't even
that's
really call that a
down the road.
franchise, though. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like with those, we talked about it, a week or so ago with like Invisible Man, for instance. They have Blumhouse make that movie for like $6 million, and they make 150 million in the theater.
It's not
With
bad.
COVID going on, they made that money, because
Yeah.
that movie came out right when like everything started shutting down, and it still managed to make like over $100 million.
That's crazy.
So I mean, they would not have made all that money without the theater chains.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like, if they wanted to just give AMC the rights to the play, Trolls World Tour, right? And like they don't give it to Cineworld or anything like that, because they know that they're gonna need to, or it's not gonna make money after like 2 weeks or whatever. So they want to be able to pull that off and blah blah blah. Well, you know what's gonna happen when they want to go and release their big franchise movie like Jurassic Park?
Mm.
So they want to be able to release it on all Regal cinemas and Cineworld and Cineplex.
Every
They're all
cinema, I
gonna be
think.
like, "Fuck you!
Exactly.
You just give it to AMC. Have fun."
Yeah.
All you get
Exactly.
now is AMC theaters. You don't
And
get to
that's
put it
gonna
on the
lose
screen.
them money
It's
if
gonna lose them a metric fuck ton of money. Like,
metric fact.
a metric fuck ton, dude. Like, because that's the thing.
I mean, yeah, really.
AMC is like, even if we want to be generous, they only have like, let's say 50% of the market share. So instead of making $1 billion, they're only gonna make 500 million now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a good idea.
No.
Not a good idea. And the other kind of like, I don't know if you could even call it a benefit, is that with them making this deal with AMC, AMC, if they were to pull the movie out of theaters and put it on streaming, AMC would then get 10% of the revenue that movie makes on VOD. So it's like, okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
That's good for AMC, but the problem is, kind of like I said, they're only going to do this with movies that are no longer making money in theaters. So, let's say, for example, let's say that Universal somehow swindles every other theater chain to get on board and sign this deal. And let's say Cineworld, for instance, they're the second largest. If AMC is getting 10%, then Cineworld's gonna want at least 10%.
Oh, for sure.
So then if you wanna go to the other ones, like, the other big ones, like Landmark, which is, like, not the biggest, but it's big, and then, like, Cinemark, I can't remember if they're under Cineworld or not, but, like, they're gonna maybe not get 10%, but maybe they get 7%, maybe they get 8%. So then, like, okay, then you gotta compensate for they put it on iTunes for $20. iTunes takes, like, 20% of anything that's sold on there.
Yeah.
So, like, they're slowly going down to a $20 rental or a $20 purchase on, a VOD service. iTunes will get 20%. AMC and Cineworld will get their 10%, so now that's 30% gone.
Yeah, just
Then
gone.
the other theaters get, let's say, 5%, but there's, like, 10 other chains. That could be almost 50%.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like, when it's all said and done,
Kinda
they're
fucked.
making 20% profit. They're making 20% of $20. That's their big takeaway for each rental if they were to go through and
So
make
maybe
these
it's
deals.
not a good idea.
That's kind of like what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
I
even because I'm
mean,
trying to look at it from
after
both
you
sides.
explained it, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Because, like, I know it's obvious that it's not good for the theater. It's obvious. Like, it's obvious that it's not good for the theaters or, the big movies that they would never do this deal on that, like your Jurassic Parks, are gonna go on to make $1 billion by staying in theaters for 30 or, 90 days or even longer if it's doing good. So, like, that stuff's the obvious answer. But once you start breaking down the numbers, knowing that AMC is getting 10% of these rentals, it's like, where are you even making money at this point?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, where's it even come from? And then, like, God forbid, if, like, the other ones do come in, you're gonna make, like, $2 per movie. And,
Which is
like,
nothing, I mean,
yeah,
compared
like
to what they were making.
yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing, is, like, if it's not making any money, because that's what also just kinda boggles my mind with this one? Universal is who owns the stupid Peacock service.
Peacock. I'll never not laugh at saying that.
No, it's just a terrible name. And
Yeah.
I say stupid because of the name. I don't
Yeah.
the service is probably great. I mean, hell, they have the rights to The Office, for fuck's sake. So,
That's
I mean, that's
yeah.
probably the best thing they got. I don't know. Can't really think of anything else that was on NBC right now. I guess Parks and Rec was also on NBC, but I don't know if that's tied up in any other deals because I know that was on Netflix that's kind of the same time The Office was, but it came on later. So
Yeah.
that aside, Peacock's just a shitty name. But if they're
It's
like,
pretty shitty.
they should just be doing what, like, HBO does, what Warner does, dude. Like, their whole thing with HBO Max is, and even Disney with Disney Plus, they put the movie in theaters, and then after it does its theatrical run, it's on their own streaming service.
Yeah.
Now you got to subscribe to my streaming service to watch the movie. Now you get more money. You know what I mean? Like, that's the smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like and it makes sense for Universal to go after AMC because AMC has been, like, hemorrhaging money since the pandemic. Like, they've had to sign, like, they just recently signed, like, a new, like, loan debt deal to, like, keep them afloat for, I don't know, I think till the first of the year or something.
How many
So,
companies are going through that right now too?
I know tons, but, like, AMC's been, that's the thing too, another thing too, and I heard someone else talking about this, and, like, it kinda goes along with, like, kinda like I was saying before, going to the movies is an experience, right? It's more than anything. It's you get out of the house, you have to go do something,
Yeah.
you make an event out of it, right? And people have always said that, like, things need to, like, the movie theaters, and I agree with this, that, the movie theaters need to make some, like, make changes to make a more, like, enjoyable experience, right? And, like, AMC in particular is one of them, one of the chains that, like, I primarily go to around here because it's kind of all that's around here
Yeah,
anymore.
really.
Um, but they've done that. They, like, you have the recliner seats, and then we have, like, the dine-in theater. Like, ours, the closest one here is a dine-in theater. So, like, you go, you have
Pretty
the,
nice.
yeah, it's really nice. You have the recliner seats. The waiter comes and gives you food. You can get hot food. You
You
get
get
popcorn.
anything you want
Yeah,
while you're just
yeah,
watching the movie,
and
yeah.
it's just given to you, and it doesn't interrupt your viewing experience.
You're, like, in
Like,
separate seats with, like, their own little desktops too,
yeah,
which is
it's
pretty
good.
cool.
It's great.
I like it.
Like, it's great, and that's the thing.
And
Like,
they're a distillery.
the only thing, yeah, they have bars. Like, a lot of them have that now too. Like, even one that's up in, I forget what it is, but it's a Cinema Deluxe. It's the only one around here that actually has an IMAX theater.
Is that, up in,
Like
Westchester?
Springdale. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that one, it doesn't have the recliner seats or anything, but it was around before the AMCs were around this area.
Yeah.
So that was, like, the primo spot to go because, I mean, they had the IMAX theater for one, but they also were like the first place around that had a bar in there, and they let you take your drinks
Can't
into the
argue with
theater with
that.
you and everything. So it was like,
Yeah.
well, hell yeah.
I could drink and watch movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
this is great. But then AMC came around in these parts and like they just like
These
made it even
parts.
better. Yeah, I mean, with like I said, the recliner seats, it's making it a better experience for everybody. Because that's the thing, as the ticket prices go up, and the ticket prices go up because these fucking studios keep spending $200 million on making movies.
Blame
So
Marty.
yeah, if they're making $200 million, or if they got to spend $200 million for one movie, that's why your fucking ticket costs $15-20. If every
It's
studio,
gone up so much too.
it's insane. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been a good experience anymore, but like, is it worth $20-30 for one person to go? Like, that's the thing. I remember going to the IMAX theater, and especially what I always hated too is because a lot of these places, and these are the kind of the scummy ones in my opinion. Like, you go and, pardon,
Drinking your scotch.
yeah, you go to the theater though, and the only showings they have are for 3D.
Yeah.
And you know why they only have it for 3D? Because they fucking charge more. They can charge more for 3D.
Yeah, they charge like an extra $5 or $10.
Exactly. So you want to go and you want to see just something, and I don't like 3D movies, even if the movie's made for 3D.
It's all novelty.
Yeah, I'd rather not do it, especially for glasses wearers. I think we talked about this before. It's not fun. And then also the whole, let's go watch this beautiful IMAX movie. This Christopher Nolan IMAX movie. It's beautifully shot with IMAX cameras, and here is some fucking tinted film to put over your eyes and ruin the whole experience. It's just stupid, man. But it's just worse because it's just scummy as hell. Because a lot of places will go in and they'll have 2D showings at 3 p.m., but 8 3D showings.
Yeah.
And it's like, they just force you in to getting the 3D ones so they can make more money. And not every chain does that, but there are some out there, and it's really annoying.
I remember paying substantially more to see 3D movies. It's been a while, but
sucks, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's not worth it. It's like, oh, it's coming out of the screen.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, it's always, those are the worst movies too. And like we were talking about this before, when we were talking about Avatar, I think, because like Avatar at least made it like
the scenes they shoot for that. It's literally like, it's just designed to shoot out of the screen. Like something's coming towards you.
That's doing it wrong. Like, you know what I mean? That's doing it wrong. Especially too, there's a lot of them that like, when the movies completely aren't shot for 2D and they're just 3D transfers, those just look terrible. Because then you don't even get the added like benefit of the woes. It's just like it's just a shitty 3D transfer. So it's just making everything pop out all fucking weird. It's just annoying. And the only other thing, like, the only thing I really think theaters need to do, and this has been a huge problem I've noticed with AMC lately, is I go to watch a movie. And it's been a while since I've been able to go and watch a movie, but just because, everything that's going on right now.
True.
But dude, I go to a 7 p.m. showing of a movie. When do you think the movie starts?
7:30.
Yeah, it starts at 7:30 because they're not playing trailers, they're playing ads.
Yeah.
They're playing ads.
They don't really play that many trailers anymore.
No. Like, dude, they'll play ads for like 25 minutes. And then they'll go in and start playing trailers. Maybe they play 3, maybe they play 5. And if they play 5 on top of your 25-minute ads, maybe your 7 o'clock movie is now starting at 7:45.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you go to pay them, you pay for that seat. You paid for a ticket that says 7 p.m.
I know, right?
7 p.m.
Like, show up at 6:30, movie starts at 7.
Yeah.
But no, it's the
And that's how it used to be. Back in the day, they'd play all the trailers and stuff before the start time.
Yeah.
Like, they'd play
now that's when everything starts.
Yeah, now they make you sit through it all. And like, I get it. Like, you got to play the ads. If people pay, it helps the theaters to run those ads. Like, the ad companies are paying them, blah, blah. Like, I get it. But 30 minutes of them? Like, that's a bit. And then you still have to do trailers? That's fucking excessive, dude. And it's like, I feel like they literally need to, like, there needs to be a law against it, in all honesty. Like, it's literally false advertisement. You're buying a ticket to go see a movie at 7 p.m. and it's not.
It's like, what have you got shit to do after the movie's supposed to be over?
What's the other thing too? And they switch it up sometimes too. And I've actually seen people who work at theaters say this. Like, they don't always do 30 minutes of it, right? So sometimes they only play like 5 minutes of ads and then 2 trailers. So the movie actually started at 7:15. But because what people started doing was they know there's gonna be 30 minutes of ads, so they wait until 7:30 to show up for the 7 PM movie. So,
Yeah.
they don't do that every time so that you show up and you just miss 15 minutes of the movie because, "Oh, they didn't play any fucking ads this time."
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So now they literally force you to have to be there at that time, which is genius in all honesty. Like, I mean, it's scummy.
Heinous, but
It's yeah,
genius.
scummy as fuck, but genius.
Yeah.
So, like, so seriously, when it comes down to like improving the theater going experience, I got just get rid of the trailers. That's really all I need. Not the trailers, but the ads. Like, if you want to play ads, that's fine. But the movie should not start after ads and trailers. I'm saying 20 minutes tops.
Tops.
And if you want to play a bunch of ads, you need to tell me when the movie starts and
Yeah.
then when like seating.
So I know when to
starts.
actually get there.
Yeah,
Like,
because if you want to say doors open at 7, show starts at 7:30.
well, how many times too do
Fine.
you like rush to the movie theater thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be late, and then you get
All
there
the
and you sit through 30 minutes worth of ads.
Yeah,
Like,
it's all the time, dude.
stupid.
It's all the time. That's things I actually like watching trailers in the theater, like from time to time. Like I
Well, because you see stuff that you haven't like seen yet.
well, normally anymore it's all on YouTube. So I mean, it's not because back in the day it was great because you'd actually really would be surprised by what you're seeing. But I mean, anymore
Yeah.
I know it all, but I like to see it on the big screen, just like I want to see the movie on the big screen. You know
Sure.
what I mean, that's the thing. Like if I go to the theater, it's because I want to see that particular movie on the big screen. Because like I'm not one of those people who thinks that like every movie has to be seen on the big screen. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm the same
honestly
way.
don't.
I could honestly,
I
I
don't feel that
rarely
way.
go to movie theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I love going to the theater, but like I know it's sacrilegious to a lot of like movie fans and stuff, but I really only go for like big cinematic things. Like
Yeah, like
I'm not gonna
Endgame or
yeah, like
like.
I'm not gonna go watch like Marriage Story in theaters. Like I'm
You
not.
don't want to see Kylo Ren and
No,
Scarlett
dude, I love
Johansson
that movie.
argue?
I watched the movie. It's a great movie.
Oh,
I don't think I
Kylo
need
Ren
to
and
watch that in
Black Widow?
theaters. Yeah, it was a great movie.
Yeah.
It was really good. I don't need to go see it in theaters though. It's not a movie that lends itself to being like a cinematic fucking experience. It's just a really good story.
Yeah.
I don't need to see like a 90
You can watch it on your TV at home and you'll be fine.
Yeah, like you know what I mean, but I want to go see like Jurassic Park or Endgame or like some big ass like theatrical experience kind of movie. I want to see that in theater, of course.
For sure. For
I
sure.
don't want to.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna go see all these indies in theaters just because like I don't find pleasure in it.
Well, they have indie theaters like Marymount Theater where they
Yeah.
play like nothing but those like kind
Right.
of movies.
I mean, that's fine if you're into that.
I used
Like,
to work there.
I just don't like making because honestly, like all the negative detractors I just said about theaters, I don't find that a good experience. Like to go, it's like I find it worth it to go and pay $20 a ticket or whatever, and 10. Because that's the thing too. I mean, $10 for a bucket of popcorn, dude. Like that's literally how much it costs. It's $9 for popcorn,
It's fucking
and
ridiculous.
it's like I know they got enough to feed everybody in that theater for $1.
That's why I like going to Pierce Point because it's unlimited. You just fill that motherfucker
Well, that
up
was
over
how,
and over and over again.
That was how the one by JJ's was for the longest time. Like you just go and they'd give it to you, and like that was it. But
True. There's
Less.
self-serve though.
there wasn't so. Oh yeah, the Pierce Point one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can get as much butter as you want. I mean, like
that is the one thing I do. I like the butter dispensers and the Pierce. They have the different cheeses you can put on it.
Oh yeah, like
Like-
the powdered, like the shake on stuff.
That's my shit, dude. I love the white
The
cheddar cheese.
Parmesan garlic.
Yeah.
Shit.
I don't know, dude. I feel like when you put too many flavors into it kind of ruins the popcorn experience.
It
so.
definitely overpowers the flavor.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But anyway, guys, I think that about covers everything that I really had on this.
I've got nothing else.
Yeah, it's destructive for the movie theater industry, obviously. But again, the one thing I don't see a lot of people talking about with this is that they obviously would only be doing this with movies that aren't making money anymore in the theaters. So again, I don't really know what the big problem would be at that point. Like, and I know like it would kind of vary from theater to theater, but you got to look at it from more of a global aspect, I guess, because if the movie was making $1,000 a day, and all of a sudden it's making like $100 a day, what's the point at that point? Like that's a big variance there, and it would almost do the theaters a favor and them like Universal a favor to just not even show it on the screens anymore. Because if the theaters are going to start going from 10 showings every 2 hours to one showing every 2 hours, The theaters don't really get anything out of that, and those are the movies I feel like would be the only ones they would actually pull off and do that. At least if I was running the damn companies, that's the only way I would do it. But I mean, I'm a fucking nobody and don't run these companies, so I don't know if I would really take my advice on it. But that's the only way I can really rationalize it in my mind. So anyway, guys, well, what do you guys think? Let us know down in the comment section below.